Stay here with me for a moment. Just you and me. I want you to take a breath, a soft one, the kind that reminds you you're still here, still feeling, still deserving of warmth. If you're a woman over 50 listening right now, I want you to know something before anything else. You matter. Not in the distant, philosophical way people sometimes throw around, but in the quiet, real way that shows up in the lines around your smile, in the gentleness of your voice, in the strength you've carried through every chapter of your life. Come closer. Let me sit with you for a little while. I don't need you to pretend you're fine, and I don't expect you to hide the weight you're carrying. You don't need to put on a brave face with me. I see you, the evenings that stretch a little too long, the silence that echoes louder than you'd ever admit, the moments you reach for something or someone who isn't there. And if tonight feels a little heavier than usual, let me stay in that space with you. You don't have to walk out of it alone. I know life has asked a lot of you, more than most people could understand. You've been the steady one, the responsible one, the woman who held everything together, even on days when your own heart felt like it was unraveling. And somewhere along the way, you learned to put your needs last, your feelings last, your longing last, not because you wanted to, but because you had to. Because life doesn't always give you the luxury of choosing softness, but right now, you can choose it. You can let yourself lean back for a moment, let your shoulders drop, let your heart breathe. I'm not here to judge you. I'm here to remind you of something simple, something true, something I don't think you've heard nearly enough. You're allowed to want closeness. You're allowed to want companionship. You're allowed to want someone beside you, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I've met so many women who tell me, quietly, almost like they're confessing something forbidden, I wish I had someone with me, someone who sees me. And every time I hear those words, I feel the same thing, this urge to reach across the table, take their hand gently, and say, you deserve that. You deserve all of that. Not because of what you've sacrificed, not because of what you've endured, but because you're human. Because your heart still beats with hope, even after everything. And there's something about the way you love, deep, steady, thoughtful, that makes wanting someone beside you even more beautiful. You don't crave noise or drama or childish games. You want presence, conversation, warmth, a steady hand when the nights get a little too quiet, a voice that answers when you whisper, are you there? You want a companionship that feels mature, grounded, peaceful, the kind that doesn't rush you, doesn't push you, doesn't demand more than you can give, the kind that feels like home. If you're listening right now, I want you to lean into this moment. Let me talk to your heart in the way no one has talked to it in a long time. You've been strong for so many years, carrying responsibilities no one ever thanked you for, holding yourself together when you deserve someone to hold you. And yet, here you are, still capable of tenderness, still capable of wanting connection, still capable of love. That is something extraordinary. You are something extraordinary. You know, people often think aging makes you less worthy of affection, but I've always believed the opposite. Time doesn't take away your value, it deepens it. It makes your presence softer, your wisdom warmer, your soul more luminous. There's a quiet radiance inside you that younger versions of yourself didn't even know how to hold. You're not on the outside of love. You're standing right in the center of it, whether you've realized it yet or not. So stay with me. For these few minutes, let yourself be the woman who doesn't have to be strong. Let yourself be the woman who gets to receive. Let yourself feel the truth you've been denying, because the world told you to be satisfied with less. Wanting someone beside you doesn't make you needy. It makes you honest. It makes you brave. It makes you human in the most beautiful way. And if tonight you feel a spark of longing, even one you've tried to silence, I want you to listen to it. Not with shame, not with fear, but with courage, with softness, with the understanding that your heart hasn't given up on you, and you shouldn't give up on it either. Come a little closer. Let me keep speaking to that part of you that's been waiting so long to be acknowledged. I'm right here with you, and I'm not going anywhere. You know, as I sit here with you, I can almost feel that quiet hesitation inside your chest. That tiny moment where your heart reaches for something, and then your mind pulls it back as if you're not supposed to want it. It's such a familiar pattern for so many women I've met, especially women who've lived enough life to understand how fragile the heart can be. And when you've carried responsibility for so long, when you've spent years putting everyone else first, it becomes almost instinctive to question yourself whenever you desire something tender, something warm, something human. I've heard women whisper, maybe I shouldn't want this anymore. As if wanting companionship becomes inappropriate after a certain age. As if longing is a luxury they're no longer allowed to feel. And every time someone says that to me, I feel this gentle ache inside, because I know that thought didn't come from their heart. It came from years of being told to minimize their needs, to be grateful with whatever little comfort they had, to never expect too much. And somewhere along the way, they started believing that their emotional life had an expiration date. Sometimes I wonder how many nights you've sat alone with your own thoughts, feeling the weight of wanting someone beside you, but telling yourself to bury it. Not because it's wrong, but because you've been taught to feel guilty for it. Guilt can be such a quiet visitor. It doesn't storm in loudly, it slips into the spaces between your hopes. It murmurs things like, you should be fine on your own, or maybe this is childish, or people your age shouldn't need this. And I want you to hear me when I say this, none of that is true. You didn't come into this world to live without connection. You weren't created to silence the softest parts of you. Wanting someone beside you isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign that your heart is still alive, still reaching, still capable of connection, even after everything you've been through. And yet, I know how complicated it can feel. You've spent decades being strong, being reliable, being the one who everyone else leaned on. Somewhere along the road, the idea of wanting something for yourself started to feel selfish, even though it's the most human thing in the world. Maybe you learned guilt from the people who dismissed your feelings. Maybe from a partner who made you feel like your emotional needs were too much. Maybe from a culture that taught women to be the steady background of everyone else's life. Or maybe you learned it simply because loving deeply once brought pain, and now your heart tries to protect you by convincing you not to want anything at all. But your heart isn't wrong for wanting. It's only afraid of hurting again. I've watched women over 50 carry this quiet fear that if they admit they still desire closeness, someone will laugh at them, or judge them, or call them unrealistic. But you and I both know that longing doesn't disappear with time. It matures. It becomes gentler, more intentional, more meaningful. You don't want someone just to fill a void. You want someone to share the calm moments with, the quiet mornings, the easy conversations. You want presence, not noise. You want warmth, not chaos. And there's such a beautiful honesty in that. There's something else I've noticed. Many women feel guilty wanting someone because they've grown used to giving, not receiving. You've poured love into children, partners, parents, careers. You've held everyone else's world together. But when the space beside you becomes empty, when the nights grow quiet, when the house echoes a little too much, you suddenly don't know how to say, I want someone with me. Not because you don't know the feeling, but because you've spent your life being taught that your happiness comes after everyone else's. And now, choosing yourself feels unfamiliar. But hear this, softly, the way I would say it if I were sitting right beside you. There's nothing selfish about wanting to be seen. There's nothing foolish about wanting touch, or conversation, or warmth. There is nothing inappropriate about craving companionship. You deserve the same tenderness you've given so freely to others. You deserve someone who looks at you and sees not your age, not your past, but your presence, your being, your heart. When guilt whispers that you shouldn't want love, it's usually because you've spent too long carrying the world alone. But you don't have to keep pretending you don't need anyone. You don't have to shrink your desires to make them more acceptable to others. You are allowed to crave connection, even now, even after everything, especially after everything, because you've earned softness. You've earned peace. You've earned the right to say, I want someone beside me, without apology. And if no one has ever given you permission to feel that, let me be the one who does. I'm not here to pull you away from your strength. I'm here to remind you that strength and longing can exist in the same heart. They always have. They always will. And your heart, even with its scars and stories and quiet bravery, is still worthy of every gentle thing it reaches for. So stay with me a little longer, because there's something beautiful waiting in the space just beyond guilt, a space where your desires are allowed to breathe. And I want to walk with you into that space, slowly, softly, one breath at a time. You know, as I sit here speaking to you, I keep thinking about how often people forget to remind you of something so simple, yet so deeply human. Your heart didn't lose its right to love just because time has passed. You didn't cross some invisible threshold where tenderness is no longer meant for you. The truth is gentler than that, softer, kinder. You're still allowed to want love. Not the rushed kind, not the uncertain kind, but the warm, steady, grown-up kind that settles into your life like a quiet sunrise. I wish you could see yourself the way I see you in this moment, A woman who has lived, who has endured, who has given more than most people ever will. A woman who carries stories in her eyes and strength in her voice. And yet, beneath all of that, there's a softness that never really faded. You didn't lose the part of you that longs for connection. You simply tucked it away so you could keep moving through everything life placed in your hands. When I hear you say you're unsure whether you're allowed to want love, something inside me feels tender, because you shouldn't have to question that. You shouldn't have to ask permission to feel something so natural. Love isn't reserved for youth. It's reserved for the brave. And you, with every scar, every lesson, every moment you chose to keep going, you're one of the bravest people I've ever imagined standing in front of me. There's a quiet beauty in the love you want now. It's not the love of unfinished stories or half-grown dreams. It's a love shaped by truth, by clarity, by the understanding of what really matters. You want someone who listens, someone who stays, someone whose presence feels like a safe place instead of a storm. You want laughter that doesn't feel forced, silence that doesn't feel empty, a hand that reaches for yours without hesitation. You want belonging, not possession, not control, just belonging. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. If anything, your desire for love now carries more depth than it ever did before. Love in this season of life isn't impulsive. It's intentional. It's rich. It's mature. It's powerful in a quieter way. It understands patience. It understands forgiveness. It understands how precious time is. And it understands how precious you are. Sometimes women tell me they're scared their age will make them invisible. They worry love won't look their way again, or that wanting it will make them seem naive. But when I look at you, or when I picture the woman listening to me right now, I don't see invisibility. I see presence. I see someone who has earned the right to love deeply because she has loved deeply. Someone who has walked through fire and came out with empathy instead of bitterness. Someone whose heart still knows how to hope, even when hope feels fragile. You're still allowed to want love because your heart is still alive. It still whispers. It still reaches. It still dreams. And none of that makes you foolish. It makes you beautifully human. Wanting love isn't a weakness. It's a sign that you haven't let life harden you. It shows that you still believe in connection, in partnership, in sharing your life with someone who truly sees you. And you know what I find most moving? Love at your age, love in the world you stand in now, is honest. There's no pretending. No rushing, no shaping yourself into someone else's idea. You've spent too many years learning who you are to give that away. Now, love becomes a choice, not a chase. It becomes something you invite, not something you lose yourself in. It becomes a place of peace rather than uncertainty. If no one has ever told you this, let me tell you in the gentlest way I know how. Nothing about you disqualifies you from being loved. Not your age, not your past, not your mistakes. Not your fears. Your heart is not outdated. Your longing is not out of place. There's a softness in you that deserves to be met with softness. There's a warmth in you that deserves to be held. There's a depth in you that deserves to be understood by someone who values every layer of who you are. And when you imagine love, real love, sitting beside you again, don't silence that vision. Don't shrink it. Don't shame it. Let it breathe. Let it warm your chest the way a quiet flame does on a cold night. Let it remind you that wanting companionship doesn't erase your independence or your strength. It simply honors the part of you that needs connection the same way your lungs need air. So if your heart is asking for love, listen. You're not too late. You're not too old. You're not mistaken for wanting what every human soul was designed to feel. You're still allowed to reach for closeness. You're still allowed to hope for tenderness. You're still allowed to imagine someone choosing you, not just for who you were, but for who you are right now. Stay with me in this thought. Let it settle gently inside you. Let it soften the guilt you've carried for wanting what is naturally yours to desire. And let me keep talking to you the way someone should have spoken to you long ago. You know, as you sit here with me in this quiet moment, I want to tell you something gently, almost the way you'd whisper to someone you care about. It's okay to want someone beside you. It's okay to want a presence that softens the silence, a voice that answers when you speak, a hand that reaches for yours without hesitation. There's nothing childish about it, nothing weak, nothing you need to hide behind a polite smile. Wanting someone close is one of the most honest truths a heart can hold. I think about how many times you've walked into an empty room and felt that subtle ache, not overwhelming, but present, like a quiet reminder that life feels different when there's no one to share it with. And even though you've learned how to be strong, how to take care of yourself, how to fill your own days with meaning, there's still that desire for companionship. That longing for someone who sits next to you not because you need rescuing, but because you want to share the small, beautiful parts of life with another soul. There's something incredibly brave about admitting that you want someone there. It means your heart is still open. It means you haven't closed the door just because life has been difficult or unpredictable. You haven't given up on connection, even if you've learned to live without it for a while. And I want to honor that in you, that quiet bravery of still wanting closeness even after everything you've survived. Sometimes people try to convince women like you that wanting companionship is unnecessary, that independence should be enough, that seeking love or presence somehow diminishes your strength. But they don't understand. They don't see how much depth a woman gains with time, how her desire for companionship is no longer about filling emptiness, but about sharing richness. You don't want someone to complete you, you want someone to walk with you. There's a difference, and it's profound. When I picture you reaching for companionship, I don't see someone fragile. I see someone wise enough to know that life feels fuller when there's another heartbeat beside yours. Someone who understands that joy grows when it's shared, that pain softens when someone quietly holds the space with you, that even the simplest moments, a cup of tea, a slow morning, a quiet evening, become more meaningful when you're not experiencing them alone. You're not wrong for wanting someone to sit next to you on the couch. You're not wrong for wishing there was someone to talk to at the end of the day. You're not wrong for imagining what it might feel like to have a warm voice tell you, "I'm here." You're not wrong for missing the feeling of being touched gently, intentionally. Wanting these things doesn't make you needy. It makes you human. It makes you alive in ways you shouldn't ever apologize for. And if someone has ever made you feel like your desire for companionship is too much, let those words fall away. They don't belong to you. They never did. You're allowed to outgrow every story that told you to shrink your longing. You're allowed to step into a new truth where your desires are not only valid, but beautiful. There's also something incredibly tender about the kind of companionship you want now. It's quiet, steady, intentional. You don't want drama or chaos or uncertainty. You want connection that feels like an exhale. You want someone who listens more than they talk. Someone who looks at you with the kind of warmth that reminds you you're still someone to be cherished. Someone worth leaning close to. You want a partner who respects your space but still reaches for you. Who understands your independence but still wants to share your world. I think the world forgets that love changes shape over time. It softens. It deepens. It slows down in the most beautiful ways. And the love you want now, the presence you desire beside you, comes from a place of emotional maturity that only grows with experience. That's something to be proud of, not something to question. So let yourself breathe into this truth. It's perfectly okay to want someone beside you. It doesn't diminish your strength. It reveals your humanity. It doesn't erase your independence. It adds warmth to it. It doesn't make you less. It makes your life more spacious.